stories about America to read aloud. Number 7, Mr. Eagle and Mr. Turkey. Mr. Eagle and Mr. Turkey were having an argument. "I should have been the American national emblem," declared Mr. Turkey. "They made a great mistake in picking an ugly fellow like you." "Humph!" humphed Mr. Eagle. "I guess Congress knew what it wanted, and it wanted me." "Benjamin Franklin didn't want you, and he was a very important man in American history," said Mr. Turkey. "He wanted me." The two birds had met halfway up a mountain. Mr. Turkey lived in the valley, but had gone up for a walk. He was a great 20-pound bronze bird. When he spread his broad tail feathers into a fan, his wing tips scraped the ground. His head and neck were bright red, and he talked in a throaty gobble. Mr. Eagle lived on the summit, the top of the mountain, but he flew down when he saw Tom Turkey. Mr. Eagle was huge in size, too. He was dark brown with a shining white head and tail feathers. When he spread his wings, they measured 8 feet across. He had a big yellow beak, and when he talked, it sounded like screaming. Now, whenever a turkey and an eagle get together, the argument starts about which bird should have been chosen as the national emblem of the United States. For back in the country's beginning, both the lordly bald eagle and the stately wild turkey had been considered for the honor. The eagle was the one chosen. A picture of him, looking very fierce, was put on the Great Seal of the United States of America. Likenesses of him decorate the insignia of many military units, and he is shown on 4 state flags. Mr. Turkey had never quite gotten over the thought of not being chosen. "Benjamin Franklin didn't want you," Mr. Turkey repeated. "He said you were a bird of bad moral character, and it's true. You're always stealing fish from Mrs. Osprey. Time and again I've seen you swoop down and take away a fish she herself has caught." Mr. Eagle shrugged his dark feathers and tossed his great white-capped head. "I guess you've never heard how the ancient Romans admired eagles," he said. "They used us on many of their decorations. For thousands of years I've been admired while you were just an unknown bird pecking around in the forest." "That's another thing," cut in Mr. Turkey. "You're not an American." "What do you mean I'm not an American?" Mr. Eagle began to swell up dangerously. There was an angry glint in his eyes. "If you're American," said Mr. Turkey, "what were you doing with the Romans? But Benjamin Franklin himself said that I'm a true original native American." He ruffled his shining feathers proudly. "I'm sure I've never even seen Rome," he announced. "Why didn't you stay there?" "It's plain why Congress didn't choose you," snapped Mr. Eagle. "You don't know your history. I didn't say I was in Rome. I was another branch. That was another branch of my family. I'm a bald eagle, and bald eagles live only in the United States." Mr. Turkey cocked his head on one side disapprovingly. "Tut, tut, now. First it was you, then it wasn't. Make up your mind." "I am also the king of the air," screamed Mr. Eagle. "I am a symbol of power and freedom. Why, the Indians even used me on their totem poles." "I never saw you on a totem pole," said Mr. Turkey, "and I never heard of you till the Pilgrims found you pecking around in the forest and thought you might be good to eat, since they didn't have anything else much anyway," retorted Mr. Eagle. Mr. Turkey stretched his long red neck and gobbled indignantly. "That's not true. The Pilgrims had boiled lobster and clam stew and roast goose and cornbread and hasty pudding, but they liked me." "Ha, ha, ha!" Mr. Eagle laughed. "You sound as if you want to be eaten." Mr. Turkey's red neck grew redder. "I'd rather be eaten and enjoyed than hunted as you used to be just for your feathers. Then the Indians threw away your tough carcass." "It was an honor to wear my feathers," said Mr. Eagle. "An Indian added 1 eagle feather to his headdress for each new brave deed he had done. Nobody had to be brave to eat you, just hungry." Mr. Eagle stretched his great wings as if he had won the argument and was about to fly off. Then he remembered something else. "They put my picture on money," he boasted. "But it's my picture they put in the newspapers every Thanksgiving," Mr. Turkey bragged. Mr. Eagle nodded. "I've seen it. Underneath the picture it says how much you are a pound." Mr. Eagle looked pained. "I," he said, "am the symbol of Thanksgiving, and Thanksgiving is a very important national holiday, first proclaimed by President Abraham Lincoln." Mr. Eagle nodded again. "A symbol on a platter, trimmed with parsley," he said meanly. "It's an honor I'd rather not have. But remember, when they're serving you for dinner, that I am protected by law. No one is allowed to bother my nest, my eggs, or my children, anywhere in the United States at any time." Mr. Turkey glared in icy disdain at his rival. "Benjamin Franklin said that I am a civilized bird. You," he announced stiffly, "are a wild, cruel fellow." "And you," screamed Mr. Eagle, "have fat drumsticks." Mr. Eagle stretched his wings again, flapped them once, soared off heavenward. He never looked back. Mr. Turkey turned and strutted back down the mountain. "I don't care if I do have fat drumsticks," he told himself. "It's an honor to be the symbol of Thanksgiving, and I really am a handsome and civilized bird." High in the sky, Mr. Eagle told himself, "I don't care if I am wild and fierce. I like to be free to do as I please. And I'm proud to be the national emblem, no matter what Benjamin Franklin said." They hadn't settled the argument. They never will. Next time they meet halfway up the mountain, they will start right in again. And what they say is true, of course. Eagles are wild, fierce birds, and turkeys have fat drumsticks. Yes, indeed, turkeys have nice, big, juicy, fat drumsticks. So what I say is, yum, yum.